You all are allowing delinquent employees to sit on their sofas at home instead of actually getting to work and doing their jobs. This is absolutely unacceptable.
So our employees are working whether they are in the office or at home, and they are.
Are you monitoring the work that they are doing from home on a regular basis?
Yes, we are.
Every employee, do you have the numbers of the hours that are submitted? Are you counting how many times they're logging into their computers and responding to casework?
So our employees are subject to the same performance management processes and oversight they are whether they're teleworking or working in an office. And we have systems in place that our managers use to schedule, assign, and track workloads. And that includes individual employee workloads in many cases. So real-time understanding of what actions are being processed at any particular given time. Additionally, our employees are required to be accessible to their supervisors, clients, colleagues, and external parties during work hours via a variety of means, including instant messaging, video platforms, and telephone. They are connected to the workplace, whether they are in the office or at the home.
Then why is the backlogs for Social Security applicants increased from 41,000 to 107,000?
Because we've been historically underfunded for a number of years now.
I don't think you're underfunded. You're funded at the Nancy Pelosi levels. At the Democrat levels, we just continued that same funding.
So I would say
at pandemic level spending.
So I would say we'd have an increase of over 8 million beneficiaries over the last 10 years. At the same time, we experienced our lowest work staffing levels at the end of FY22. That's a math problem. I mean, that is a problem. If you have those workloads, increasing, and you don't have the staff to take care of those workloads, you're going to have the backlogs that you're talking about, Representative.
It's a day of the week, which means that Lauren Boebert embarrassed herself during a congressional hearing. Here she tries to pick a fight with a Social Security Administration official over the concept of remote work. And I gotta say, first and foremost, it sure is rich watching Lauren Boebert, of all people, lecture others about doing their jobs when she's failed to pass even a single piece of legislation. If she left Congress today, she would have quite literally nothing to show for it, other than having bilked her supporters for their fundraising dollars. Second of all, it sure is interesting that Boebert is so hostile to remote work, given that not even a year ago today, a certain congresswoman wrote a letter to the House clerk to serve as notice of her proxy vote designee. And I think if you zoom in really close, you might just be able to make out the name of that congresswoman. So yeah, I know that you're not going to believe this, but it turns out that Lauren Boebert may just be full of shit. Who could have possibly guessed? And finally, I suppose we shouldn't be surprised that Boebert is so critical of the Social Security Administration official, given her party's hostility for earned benefits. And don't take my word for it, take theirs.
It will be my objective to phase out Social Security, to pull it up by the roots and get rid of it.
Entitlements ever be on your plate?
At some point they will be. That's actually the easiest of all things if you look.
But I think we should try to look at entitlements, look at restructuring Medicare.
We all know where the real issue is in terms of long-term debt for the United States. We've got to put them on the table in the long term.
I think I have to be excited about their response to the long-term challenges that we have in our entitlement programs. There's no doubt that we have to wrestle this beast to the ground.
We need to acknowledge all of the entitlements that we have. It's an issue. So the first thing you do is you change the retirement age.
So if you're wondering why the hostility, it's because Republicans do not believe Social Security should exist. Which, by the way, is why Republicans refuse to actually fund it. And then they'll turn around and point to the program's impending insolvency as evidence that it's not a viable program, when they themselves are the ones who refuse to ensure its viability. They'll fund the military with blank checks every year, but God forbid you seek some money for our seniors who've paid into the system their entire lives. Although in fairness, the Democrats also write blank checks for our defense budget, although not to the detriment of our seniors. But Lauren Boebert is embodying that hostility in her interaction in this video. And just for fun, it's worth noting that this isn't even the only time that Lauren Boebert's embarrassed herself by showing up to work unprepared. Here is another instance where this self-appointed work attendance protector castigates the director of the U.S. Office for Personnel Management for 25% of the workforce failing to log into work, only small problem.
You're not aware of any employee taking something that one would consider a vacation time and bringing their computer and maybe logging in just a portion of that time, or not at all? We have more than 25% of federal employees not logging into work, and they're teleworking.
Congresswoman, I do take issue with the characterization that 25% of individuals are not logging in.
It's in this leaked document right here that we just submitted into the record.
You're basing that from 2020, which was in the last administration, and I can't speak to that.
Yeah, the figures she was citing were from the Trump administration. And if there's one rule we absolutely must abide by, it's that you cannot, under any circumstances, speak an ill word of the Republican God King, Donald Trump, which is probably why that line of questioning ended rather abruptly. Here's another, where Boebert fails to identify what's in her own amendment.
And I ask the gentlelady to yield for a question.
It's recognized. It's not my time.
I ask you to yield.
I have reserved. You're free to speak.
Yes, I'm asking if you'll yield for a question.
Sure. Ask your question.
What funds in this bill are used for the purposes you are opposed to?
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear the gentleman. I was getting clarification. This is precautionary.
Precautionary for what? I'm asking.
There are sanctuary city policies.
Yes, I understand. I understand what
that are in place that are allowing the refuge of illegal aliens in these cities, and there is an influx in crime and drugs.
I understand
in these cities, and there's no way for these folks to even report what is taking place because they are protected under this fake policy that has been created that is subduing the actual rule of law that we have in the Constitution of the United States.
Funds, right? I understand that. But what you've said is none of the funds in this bill can be spent for that objective.
And that is precautionary.
What funds are in this bill to be spent for that objective?
I have seen this administration use all sorts of funds to protect illegal aliens. And this is
reclaiming my time, Ms.
to ensure that it will not be.
Reclaiming my time. There are no funds in this bill to do that. So this is just an opportunity for you to stand and perhaps speak about an important subject. I understand that, but there are no funds in this bill to accomplish that objective. You don't believe the chairman would put funds in to accomplish that objective, do you?
In other words, she decides that a proposed spending bill absolutely needs an amendment blocking funds for sanctuary cities, only when she's asked what funds would actually go to sanctuary cities, she has no idea, because she is a fundamentally unserious person. And here's another one, her bizarre line of questioning on public urination.
Mr. Allen, based on these statistics, I would like to talk to you about some other things that are going on here in Washington, D.C., specifically an initiative that you led. In November of 2022, you led the charge to reform D.C.'s crime laws. Is that correct?
I chaired the committee that proposal came through.
You led this charge, yes, sir. And these changes are now law here in D.C., correct?
Do you mean the revised criminal code?
Yes.
No, those are not the law.
Those are not the law.
The
revised criminal code was rejected by.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I'm talking to Mr. Allen.
Yes,
Mr. Allen, did you or did you not decriminalize public urination in Washington, D.C.? Did you lead the charge to do so?
No, the revised criminal code left that as a criminal charge.
Did you lead the charge to decriminalize public urination in Washington, D.C.?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever vote in favor of decriminalizing public urination in Washington, D.C.?
The revised criminal code that was passed by the council
support
kept it as a criminal offense.
And you support this?
I voted for it, yeah.
You voted to keep it as a criminal offense?
That's correct. The full council did.
We have records that show that you were in favor of removing that criminal offense and allowing public urination.
No,
Is that something that you intend to pursue in the future?
No. The legislation that you're referring to that came from the Criminal Code Reform Commission changed public urination from a criminal to a civil offense. The council then changed that to maintain it as a criminal offense at the request of the mayor.
Thank you. I yield.
Yeah, whatever she's paying her staff to do that research, it's too much. And here's the craziest part of all of this. Lauren Boebert, one of the most unqualified and extreme members of Congress, won her last election by just over 500 votes. That's it. It was the closest congressional race in the entire country, and yet still she's failed to moderate her lunacy even an inch. And to that point, if you don't know her Democratic challenger, Adam Frisch, you probably should.
I've spent the last 5 or 6 weeks, and why I decided to get in the race earlier than normal was because I heard from a lot of people that voted for her, cattlemen, ranchers, people in the oil and gas industry, and they thought that there'd be a little bit of humility when you had the worst performing race in the entire country. and she's doubled down. Within a day or two of winning, she talked about leading with grace on a video that she made. And then, it doesn't take very much longer where she's yelling and screaming at this oversight committee, at the Twitter executives, about why she didn't have as many followers as she deserves in a very disruptive way. So again, the people out here in CD3 think that she's just doubled down. And those are people that voted for her again and just are shaking their head that she's just not focused on the job. It's that angertainment industry that she loves to partake in, which might be good for her fundraising, but it's not good for the district. And a lot of people are seeing through that more and more.
And if you'd like to donate to Adam, click the link right here on the screen or find it in the post description of this video. And here's the important part to recognize. For Republicans like Lauren Boebert, it's not about reality. It is about the narrative. Whether she's talking about remote work or Social Security or sanctuary cities, Boebert will say whatever lies she needs to be able to get booked on Fox News or Newsmax or OAN, or to go back to her email list and say, thank God for me. I stood up to the evil Democrats. Now give me money and fund my campaign. And guess what? No one in those hermetically sealed media ecosystems will correct her. And so she'll continue to parade her ignorance around, because at the end of the day, this isn't about legislating, it's not about helping her constituents or lowering costs or making life more affordable. It is solely about building her brand. And if she has to outright lie in order to do that, then that's exactly what she's going to do. So if you're wondering why nothing gets done in Congress, this is exactly why, all summed up into a single person. Lauren Boebert's in Congress for one reason. It's for Lauren Boebert. She's not there to help anyone or to pass any bills. She's there for brand building. She views Congress as a way for her constituents to serve her and not the other way around. This from the party that beats its chest as the party of Lincoln. So look, the truth is that Boebert will never take this job seriously because she has no incentive to. Again, she's not there to pass any bills, she's there to become a social media star, not unlike the majority of Republicans whose names we hear on a daily basis. They view government as a stepping stone to personal stardom, so the notion that they'll ever do anything to help anyone else is almost as laughable as Boebert's attempts to legislate. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to the channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.